Hey, Youssef, I have a question. The very first time you ever decided that you were going to use AI to solve some sort of go to market question, were you trying to fix your own problem? Or did someone come to you with a problem and you thought, yeah, I'll take your money and learn how to fix that?
I think it was definitely someone came to us just because of my background. I've always
Right.
been in technology, and people's businesses nowadays is like even they come to you for a Microsoft issue. It's like, oh, my Excel is not working, or this is not working. It's like, yeah, I can help you fix it, right? But definitely was for someone, and the ability to be able to see that, investigate that, and come back with a really, really nice solution and really see what we've done for that business impact their day to day activity. And them coming to you after like 6 months, it's like, hey, Youssef, like, it's just a time saver. Like, thank you very much. It definitely left a big impact on us. Yeah, for sure.
And Drew, how about you? Were you trying to solve your own problem or you trying to solve someone else's for money?
I mean, I think it was a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Like it was a problem a client probably inadvertently created for us that we then were like, "Oh, we gotta solve this kind of at scale. Like we can't keep doing these like one-off solutions that we have to have a better system in place to handle this." And so I think it was my background in AI goes back predates OpenAI. It goes back to when people were still, ML was the big thing that everybody was talking about
Hmm.
and teaching machines to be AI essentially. And you know, I think the first couple of tools I used that were an AI enabled were pretty lackluster, but there was that promise that it's like, all right, the bread's not ready in the oven yet, but by dinner this thing's gonna really be cooking. Like it's so I think a lot of it was those early experiments that we would run were just we were constantly just kind of opening the oven door. Which don't do that if you're baking bread, but we were doing it, every few weeks to just see like, all right, is this ready yet? Can we actually apply this to solve a problem? Or is it something that's just not worth it? And when we initially started building with AI, it was always uh, internal focused first, internal process first, uh, until we had a lot of confidence that we could actually build something for somebody else that would be usable and reliable and wouldn't break every 5 seconds because a lot of the early stuff we built did break every 5 seconds. And you did need to, know a bit more about it than the average bear.
The first AI company I ever worked for was a company called Bright Pond out of Massachusetts. I think they were headquartered around Massachusetts, but or it might have been Silicon Valley. Like it was a long time ago. I know that some of the execs were in uh, Boston, but I only ever went out to Silicon Valley. Bright Pond was an AI, really ML, and even then, it was probably a stretch to call it ML. It was a customer service app you would plug in so that it would automatically reply and answer questions for people via email. That was 2000.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, man. Like I said, I think you could barely call it AI or even ML back in 2000. But yeah, it was like 25 years ago. It's nuts. Okay, Drew, I'm going to ask you this question, and then I want Yusuf to sort of tackle it as well. Imagine that, I run a company of some indeterminate size, and I've never been on the software dev side, right? And I hear people talking about agents and like AI orchestration or go to market. What is an agent? Like, I have no technical background. Tell me what an agent is.
It's a digital employee, right? It's your
It's software, though.
yeah, it's software. It's you're taking the brain of an AI and you're putting it into a digital body that can do things. So, everybody knows you can go to ChatGPT and you can type in, what is the capital of the state or what is, this population center, density or whatnot. And it'll give you an answer. But and if that's all you need is an answer, then great, you walk away happy. Uh, in the current kind of stage of AI development, we now have the ability to take that brain and actually do things with it. And I think a lot of people have no real concept of what that means. and just how broad these agents can really become. I mean, if you've played with Claude Cowork or you've played with some of these tools that allow either computer like automation, like it'll go in and like reorganize your files or something like that, then you have a little bit of a window into it. But just about every time we say a model update, the agents become more and more powerful and able to do more and more things reliably. And so a lot of the skills that these agents have developed have been around for a while. The issue was that they could not do these things reliably or they would break things. So, if you saw that article a few months ago about, I think it was the AI governance officer at Facebook ran OpenClaw, which is an agent harness, which we can talk about in more detail if you'd like. But she was running OpenClaw, and it decided that the easiest way to clean out her inbox was just delete everything. And that's the kind of reliability issue that these agents are overcoming right now. So they're getting better, but the best advice I ever heard about agents is to treat them like a very intelligent intern, right? They're well-meaning, they want to do the right thing, but they also are an intern. So they're not going to be the expert executor that is sitting on your floor and actually doing the job today.
All right. And then Yusuf, I want to ask you like a variation of that question. And if it doesn't make sense, like at this moment, to answer it, just let me know because we had a lot of questions to get through. But my CMO comes to me and says, "Hey, we've got AI orchestration and automation all set up for our initial outreach, right?" And so it's like, from finding people and figuring out who's like interested in buying all the way down to like sending them some kind of message. And I said, okay, sure, great. And then I walk away and I said, like, what does that actually look like? Like, what does a day in the life look like for a system like that? Like, there's going to be like multiple agents sort of in a chain. Like, who wakes up first and does what? And then I guess they pass it off to someone else, right? And then the next agent sort of picks up that and says, okay, it's my job to understand this kind of stuff. Can you tell me what you or between the two, what does that day in the life look like? What's
So
happening at 2 a.m.?
yeah. So I'll tell you this. And Drew said it very well. An AI is a very smart intern. That is literally the analogy I use to describe what is an AI model for any business owner. You have to explicitly tell it what it needs, what it is, what it should do, and put guardrails on top of it. But every intern has its own unique thing. And I'm sure people have heard nowadays, like, oh, this AI model has reasoning. This AI model doesn't have reasoning. That other AI model has a toolkit that it can tap into, right? So with every model out there right now, we have a lot of competitive companies, OpenAI, Claude, Gemini. Everyone is coming out with their own best thing, right? And every model, even within that company, has its pros and its cons. Reasonings, response, running costs, a lot of variables that go into what is the commercially valuable AI model or model to be used in a specific task. So if we're going to be orchestrating between different types of activities in whatever processes, the number one thing I tell to business owners is focus on the business. What are the goals that we're really trying to achieve here? The business comes first, then the tools come second. And once we jump into those tools, we start to identify, okay, with this, it's a high volume activity that needs a low cost, relatively smart model to make a very small decision, but it's got to take them into another, the relative flow. We have then an AI model that has a conversation that with high end people or high caliber of people that it needs to be flawless. It's not a volume conversation or that is going out there and it's just like we really don't care about who's on the other side of the line. So we need to invest more in the quality of that AI model. For example, that new Gemini model that the live model that right now it's talking, it's instead of transcribing audio to text then pushing it to the model, then text to audio, it's processing audio directly. So the latency is just beautiful. It's human like at an amazing core. So my biggest advice is focus on the business first. Put in your business parameters, running costs, volumes. What are the tools? And then go to your AI resource to be able to come in with the right solutions or with the right tools to be able to implement within that workflow.
I think one thing, Dean, that is really important to understand about the difference between kind of the sci-fi version of AI and the version we have today is that no matter how complex an agent architecture you have, they are still run based on triggers, and there's four basic triggers. There's user input, right? You go and call an agent and say, "Hey, I need you to do this." There's a cron job, which is just essentially a schedule, right? Think of it like a mark on a calendar. It says every day at this time or every other day or whatever, I'm going to run this process. There's a heartbeat, is like very similar to a cron job, but it's running interday. Throughout the day, it's checking in and seeing if there's work that it needs to do. And then there's outside, like outside web hooks or outside data coming in some form or fashion, right? That could be an API call, a webhook, anything like that. So the day for an AI agent is always going to start when it receives that trigger. And whether that's something that is automated, like a cron job, or even if say the user input could even be automated by a whole nother level of agents or automation, that's where its day starts. And then from that point, your first, if you have a like a multi-agent system or an agent orchestration system, your first touch point is usually the orchestrator who's determining what things need to be done. So if you say you have a completely AI driven marketing team, your first person is going to be that your first agent is that orchestrator. That's your CMO. Your CMO is seeing, all right, every day I need to check my analytics, I need to check my the marketing budget, I have to check the project status, and I have to check on deliverables to make sure everything from yesterday was delivered and follow up. And then it then goes and delegates to all of its sub agents or spins up new agents to handle those in real time, which is a little bit of there is a difference between multi-agent and sub-agent workflows. Happy to go in deeper, but I don't want to get you too off the.
Well, I do have like a deeper question I want to ask because let's say I'm CEO again, and this is for both of you guys or either one. Is sometimes my folks are talking to me about AI automation, and sometimes my folks are talking to me about AI orchestration. Like, what the hell?
So there's it's one of those differences that's like kind of like, well, what's the difference between Merlot and Malbec to someone that doesn't drink wine? It all kind of looks the same. It's all red in the bottle. The real difference is when you have an AI enabled or AI empowered automation, it's still running like a traditional step by step automation. It does step one, then it does step two, then step three. Oh, we have a little AI block there that does something, and then it goes to step four and step five, and so on and so on. So that's an AI enabled or empowered automation. When you're talking about agentic orchestration, it's not necessarily following the same path. It can follow the same path, but you're giving more of the decision making ability over to the agent to decide what's the next thing that needs to get done. And so when you have like a agentic orchestration layer, you have a core agent that is kind of the CMO or the CFO, the C-suite executive of your agent team that's then delegating work out in real time based on the data it's receiving or it's pulling in from the various tools or connections that it has. So the it's a lot more flexible than an automation. An automation is usually built for one specific thing, right? Check QuickBooks, see if we have any outstanding debts or outstanding invoices, and then email clients with hey, are you going to pay? Or you could throw an AI in there to write the email so they're a little bit more personalized and friendly. So it's not just a stock like, hey, pay us now kind of thing. Where the orchestration could go into play is it would look deeper because it could say, hey, Joe owes us this invoice. Let me go into Joe's record and make sure we actually delivered everything on time. Yeah, we did deliver everything. He approved it. I'm going through the emails. I see he approved everything last week. It looks like he's paying that 30. So it's not unusual for us not to have this billing. So it's a much more complicated decision chain. And it's something that if you tried to build that in an automation, it would take months and months and months to build. And it still probably wouldn't work as good as having an agent make those kind of decisions, because once you have an agent with the right prompting and the right training being able to go through and process that, it's a lot more reliable in a lot of cases than automation.
Orchestras have conductors.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So I want to talk to you about something you brought up. So if we think about like AI automation or orchestration, right? There's data coming into that system from outside my company. Some of my company's data is moving through that system, and then some or none of my company's data is leaving the system. Talk to me about putting in guardrails around that.
It is really, really tricky when it comes to that because, as Drew mentioned, we have the AI automations and the AI orchestration or agentic orchestration, right? When you're looking at the agentic orchestrations, the guardrails are most probably built within the prompts, right? So you have all of those models that are implemented within those prompts that are able to provide such guardrails. And obviously, it is really, really dependent on the type of data. Like, do we need to be HIPAA compliant? Do we need to be this GDPR? Do we need to what type of compliance or what type of activity we need to implement within there? Are we dealing with a specific demographic through the internet? Is there specific sensitivities to the data? So from those things, you start to make those decisions, and it really stems from the data from the business side. If you have a treasure, you really put a lot of walls behind it so people won't be able to access it. But if you have an empty box, sure, right? And it's all behind the business because with everything that needs to be implemented, there's a certain investing that needs to be made. So if we're looking from a automation workflow or an AI automation, which is something that is built within yes, no, maybe flows, which is like if else, if else, if else, then you can within that you can absolutely build a lot of guardrails that is just if not within this then no it goes into the garbage or it's protected in somewhere or shape or form. But then if you go into the agentic influencing or the agentic orchestration, it's all built within the prompt and it's built within the prompt engineering. How will you be able to, what types of conversations, what can you not say? We've seen Claude run a vending machine in their company and they told him make money. And the results were just hilarious. Some of the employees were able to go and talk to that agent and talk it into giving them the product for free, right? So a big part of it is really what are the expected inputs that we're getting? What is the expected output and how are we going to process it? And trying to throw everything outside. And it really comes into also the type of AI model we're using. So it really depends on what flow we're going for and being very conscious and being very predictable. We need to predict what's coming in. So we are able to build the right guardrails for it.
I think
Drew.
guardrails are important. The other piece to this is more of the infrastructure permissions component, which is, if you're connecting an AI agent to HubSpot, you do not have to give it super admin access over every endpoint and allow it access to all of the data. Like sometimes you actually giving it all of that can lead to some of the bad results we've seen, that pop up on the news every once in a while because people are just a little like, oh, well, I don't want to go in and research what permission scope that I actually need. So I'm just going to give it everything and like hope for the best. It's like, well, that's where you start running into trouble. And that's when it starts going like, oh, well, this user hasn't logged in 3 weeks. And suddenly the CEO is outside of his own HubSpot instance because, he's not logging into HubSpot every day. So it's the way to really make sure that you have the prompting is really important, but also making sure that it has access to the right information at a limited scope. If you have, if you're a doctor's office and you have health records that you do not want it to analyze for whatever reason, then you need to be really explicit if it has access to that system about, well, what kind of data does it have access to? Because if it's just billing data, then just scope it for billing data. Don't go and give it the whole hog and be like, well, it might need it at something. It's like, no, just give it permissions as it needs it as the use case evolves. Start with the least amount of permissions necessary, and that's going to make sure that you don't run afoul in terms of data exfiltration issues, which is the other big thing that happens when you don't have good guardrails and people can use prompt injection against a publicly facing bot. If that bot has access to a lot of internal data, it will dump it out. If you get a smart enough guy like there's a guy online now who his whole thing is he breaks AI models. That's he has a whole following based on his work breaking AI models, and that's what he does. He just talks to models until he figures out how to break them and break through the guardrails and get the data he wants out of them. So it's certainly the guardrails are important, but shutting the door to those most sensitive areas is the other piece to safeguard the business.
If it
Okay,
doesn't
so
know it, it won't say anything about it. It's just as simple as
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
all right, so let's say that I'm CEO and I have a marketing department with 50 people in it across all roles and seniorities, and 100 salespeople. What like roles or parts of people's roles should I be thinking about moving over to AI instead of having people do it? Who
You
wants to
know,
tackle that?
I can go from here. Really, when you're tackling a business use case as big as this, I'll tell you this: clients come to us from everywhere and be like, "Youssef, we have this big issue with this with our sales team, and we think AI can help us." Once we jump in there, and it's like we see everything is happening. Like, how are you guys doing your quoting, for example? We have like 10 Excel sheets that we kind of copy and paste information through, and then we generate a quote. It usually takes us 10 hours to generate a quote. It's like, okay, no, you don't have an AI problem. You have a digital transformation problem. You should be able to, first of all, build that right infrastructure to be able to expose AI on top of it. You can't put an AI model in just random Excel sheets that has no process, no clear process, no output, nothing integrated within the system. No, you have to take a step back actually and look at it from a business perspective. How can we automate the process first? How we can make sure that there's a clean line of data streamlining through from this department to that department. So the leads come in from the website, they jump into the right model, they go into the right salesperson, we process their quote as fast as possible. And from an AI automation perspective, which is we have some pit stops along the way. The data moves from point one, point two, point three. There's an AI decision making. It's like where should this go? Is this quote based on the context related to Steve or Joe? Oh no, it's more Steve because the AI knows that Steve's handles this. Then it goes to Steve. Steve takes it out and start playing it from there. Steve follows an issue with his quote instead of sending the issue to his manager that is busy. Hey, we have an AI model that is streamed on our all sales playbook. It has all the case studies. It has all the problems that it can solve. Hey, AI model, the client needs this and this and this. How have we handled this before? And it gives it to them. So it's really building that right infrastructure from scratch from a business perspective first, getting rid of the pen and papers, getting rid of the Excel sheets, getting rid of the non-integrated softwares or redundant data entry that a person needs to get this data, copy it into a piece of paper, send it to that other guy, and they need to key it into the system. So building that all of that stream or flow between those softwares and adding the right stops and using AI when it really matters, when it really fits. That's the message in reality. Does the AI model fit in that area or no, we need automation here?
Drew, what about you? What do you think?
So I think the discussion around AI replacing human employees, I think it's off target. The goal should not be to replace human employees. The goal should be to enable human employees with AI tools that make them more productive and then frees up their time so that they're able to focus on the things that humans do best, which tends to be the more creative work. Because as great as Seed Dance might be about creating a video that looks ultra realistic, the reality is that was only trained on other models or other previous media. It's generating that as a carbon copy of something else it learned somewhere in its training library. So humans still own creativity and own the creative space. And so if you have people on your team that are wasting time with the kind of manual data entry that Youssef was talking about, or managing a complex process, which is essentially just a series of logic gates that they have to manually make decisions on, but an AI could make those decisions much quicker and much more efficiently with much more information and do it in a way where your accuracy goes up. Well, those are the kind of things that you should be taking off your team's plate and letting them focus on the more creative work that they actually should be focused on. And by creative work, I'm not just talking about, design, a new Facebook banner image. I'm talking about the kind of creative strategy work that a sales team needs to do to get a deal across the line, the creative positioning work that the CEO needs to, bring in front of a board to get them to agree to invest in a new initiative. Uh, that's the type of creativity that you can really unlock when you start getting rid of all of this baggage that we've collected over the years. That's really an accumulation of this slow roll into a digital world that we felt from like 1990 up until around 2, 3 years ago when AI started making our lives significantly easier in some of these ways. And so we just have, to use this point, there is a digital transformation need. You can't just throw an agent into some garbage CRM and expect it to have great results. Um, at the same time, your use case shouldn't be, well, my IT team, isn't doing anything for me, so I'm just going to replace them all with AI. It's a terrible idea. Terrible idea. So I think that's really the focus should be is not on how many people can I let go now that I have this new tool. It should be how many people can be much more effective for me and actually earn their paycheck doing stuff that a robot can't do at a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the time.
Or you might like take a serious look at your business and realize that there's some areas of the company or some roles where you want to use AI to get the same for fewer people. And other areas, like, and I don't mean to like, break them out this starkly, but just as an example, you might decide that with like, you might be able to use AI to get by with 42 people in marketing instead of 50 and get the same output. Because there's only so much output for marketing, period, right? You're only going to like run so many ads. You only, but on the sales side, where with your 100 salespeople, you might decide, you know what, I don't want to like get by with 80 salespeople. I want all 100 salespeople to be as maximally efficient as possible because then we'll grow.
Yeah,
So there's probably like a mixture depending on if you study your business
it's
and understand what you're aiming for.
yeah, just like in any, any technological revolution, there is going to be people that lose their jobs to technology because their jobs just were
Yes.
no longer needed. You didn't need as many people to operate that press. Now the press is a robot, right? In a like a car plant or something like that. So there are going to be losses, but I think like one of the big mistakes I think a lot of these tech companies are making is these massive layoffs of engineers, because what I see happening is in probably a year or two, there's going to be a hiring spree to try to
Hmm.
get all of those people back, because someone's going to realize, oh, wait, if we kept all of them on and got all of them the AI tools and made them, instead of having 5 people be as productive as 10 people, if we had 10 people be as productive as 100 people, that's the win. That's how we stay on top of the market. That's how we crush the competition, not by shrinking back and maintaining what we already have. And so I think people are going to come to that, that pendulum's going to swing back, and people are going to come to the realization that like cutting head count because, oh, well, with AI, we just don't need as many people. You should be cutting people that's jobs are genuinely just, if you have an entry level data entry person and they're just copying stuff from one spreadsheet to another, yeah, I'm sorry, those jobs are going away. But, the idea that you can cut your marketing in half and expect the same kind of output or better output by implementing AI, I think is short-term gain, long-term pain. You're going to end up rehiring those people once the rest of the market catches up with you.
And I
My kids
think
are graduating.
and I think a quote that I always say when people come and ask me, and obviously all of us people come and ask, do you think AI will replace jobs? The first thing I tell them, the AI is here to honor the human mind, because a human should not be copying and pasting data from an Excel sheet to the other. I should be using that resource in a much, much more creative capacity. And as Drew mentioned, no, we're not right now with the AI. I'm not looking to just cut my resources and 2x my business. No, I'm thinking about keeping my resources and 100x my business. That's the main gain here.
I tell people, look, man, in every company you've ever worked in, you've either been on the cost side of that business or the revenue side of that business. And if you're on the cost side of that business and they can find a way to do your job for like $1 an hour cheaper by hiring someone else or outsourcing it or whatever, then you've always kind of been in danger. And pretty much the only opportunity you have on the cost side of a business is to be like so productive that it doesn't make sense to try to save money on you. And if you're on the revenue side of the business, which is usually the better place to be, nice expense accounts and stuff. If you're on the revenue side of the business, it's all about how can you increase the revenue. As long as you bring in way more than you cost, it doesn't make sense to get rid of you for someone cheaper. It makes sense to hire another person to do the same thing you're doing. And then there's two of you. And I don't think that's changed much just because AI is coming.
Yeah.
No, I think the honoring human work is a good point, because I think the other piece of this that I think a lot of business owners that are excited about AI and see like the cost savings element of it don't really think of. And if you talk to an HR person, they will tell you all about this.
Mm-hmm.
But it is much harder to hire a new person than retrain an old person. If you have someone that already knows your business and has been working with you for 10 years, and all of a sudden we don't have, your job is getting eliminated because of AI, isn't it worth keeping them on for a couple months and trying to get them moved into another part of the business? You already trust them. You already know they show up for work on time. You already know they do a good job. They already know your business. They know everybody, right? There's no onboarding. There's no search. There is absolutely no benefit in not trying. And I've done that with my own business. As we were going through this transition internally, there were people that I knew that their jobs were going away, and I gave them plenty of notice. And I said, listen, this is the new direction that we're going in. These are the roles we're going to have available. I want you to take these roles. I will pay for you to get trained in these roles, but you have to want it. If you still want to do this, this isn't going to happen here anymore. So, and leave it up to them. And I gave people, 90-day runaways to make that decision. And the people that stuck around are still employed with me today. And the people that didn't went off, but they didn't feel like I was pulling the rug out from under them and saying like, hey, yeah, I took your job. It's like, this job doesn't exist anymore. We don't need this role anymore, but there's other stuff we need, but you need to be willing to do the extra work to retrain in it. And so,
Okay, here's my next question for both you then. Kind of related, okay? You're talking to companies. Let's move away from individuals. You're talking to companies, you're talking to clients. Like, what do you keep having to tell them because they don't know or they don't think to ask as they work on or think about how they're going to automate part of their entire go-to-market marketing sales process? What are they just like, why doesn't anyone ask this? Or why isn't this the first question companies ask me? Why do I always have to bring this up? Youssef, we'll start with you. What does everyone forget to ask or think about?
Think about really the perception that people have coming in when we're talking to us is AI is the genie in the bottle. That's
Mhm.
that's the initial perspective, right? It's like we need AI to fix everything. It's like, sure, we can try, but have you looked at your internal processes? If we're fixing something, or like if we're building on something that is already broken, then it will always be broken. So I would usually, when we think and we try to ground our clients and really take that step back, and we would love them to ask us like, okay, from your perspective, how do we think that flow can be optimized, that operation, that, the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4? Because when it comes to marketing and sales, they're tightly connected, right? Marketing brings in people, sales processes those people. How is your marketing team talking to your sales team? How long does it take for the handover to happen? How is your marketing team bringing in those clients? Oh, we have all of these marketing tools out there that are great, integrated to our CRM that does this and does this. Okay, is it really integrated into the sales team, to the sales structure? How is that communication happen? So really taking a step back and really thinking about, is there something broken into the initial conversation? Because we had a client before, when we were talking to them, it's like, how are you processing your quotes, or the intakes that are coming from clients? It's like, oh, we have maybe an infinite ways our clients send orders in. Sometimes they send an email, sometimes they send a piece of paper, sometimes they come in face to face. And I asked them, have you ever thought about, unifying or creating some sort of template to be able to intake that information and really cover all the bases so you can build something on it? It's like, no, we don't think so that's possible. Then for me to come in and promise you that an AI model will be able to process a piece of paper with scribbles on it, a Excel sheet with multiple tabs, a Word document, an email written in Arabic, an email written in French, it's infinite amounts of possibilities. So the process is already broken within the business. We need to take that step back and really design the process and make sure it actually works for that business. So we can start pitching on those great ideas. It's like, oh, that part of the process needs to be automated. This part of the process needs an AI model to make those decisions, to be able to take it over to the next team, to the production team. Then after that, we need to cross-reference the initial communication with the client with the actual output to come in to be able to send it and say thumbs up. But if the initial communication with the client was a piece of paper that was scribbled on, the amount of error that can happen in between is just huge.
Drew, how about you? What do you like wish people
So
would ask?
I'm actually going to take the exact opposite of what Youssef said, because I've seen that. I've seen the genie in the bottle thinking. Like, AI is going to come in and it's going to fix all our problems. The other thing that's fascinating is how much people uh, don't understand what AI is actually capable of. And instead, they will come in and saying, I just need this. Because they're so used to talking to off the shelf software companies
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, yeah, it's great. You have all these other bells and whistles. I don't care about that. Can it send follow-up emails automatically when pipeline stages move? Like, can it do that? That's all I want. I don't care about any of that. Like, will it just do that? And so they think about the problem in such a narrow focus that, to Yusuf's point, they're ignoring a bunch of big red flashing lights in other parts of the process, but they're also thinking about it in such a a tunnel vision kind of way that they're missing the opportunities to connect that kind of application to other things, because they're just so used to have to take their workflow and modify it to work with whatever tool they have. And it's like, well, now in the age of agentic automation and the kind of platforms that we build every day, it's like, no, if I can put the button anywhere you want on the screen, that's the easy part. Like, what's the bigger issue that you're trying to solve here? Like, well, the issue is that, follow-up emails don't go out on time. Okay, why don't they go out on time? Well, it's because my sales team is, really bogged down with, doing all this manual work, trying to schedule appointments and, just doing the sales stuff. It's like, okay, why don't we fix that at the same time? Why focus on this one little piece that's going to maybe save what, 5 hours a week, when you could tackle this bigger thing that's going to save you 50 hours a week and actually make your sales team more productive? So I see that side of it too. Is like, I have the genie in the bottle, but I also have people that come in with just such low expectations of what's possible, because they've just had that bad experience with software companies that it's all flash, it's all like looks great in the demo, and then they get in and it's like, wait, so it doesn't send calendar invites? Like, I book a meeting, it won't send, I have to manually send the calendar invite. And like, that sounds ridiculous. I've had 3 of those vendors for clients where I'm like, I cannot believe that in today's day and age, it won't automatically generate a calendar invite on someone's calendar, but it will still put it on the main person's calendar.
In
So
my conversations with companies that are looking for like orchestration automation, what I start to do now is I say, oh, we don't need to go into all of the economics and the technical details of why this is true. But for the sake of this conversation and sort of opening up and having ideas and talking about what's really like not working, just assume that getting a software application that was built only for you and will only ever work specifically for you either costs zero, or you have so much money for it that it's basically irrelevant to you how much it costs. If you just start with the idea that the problems that software could fix if only you could afford to have something built one time just for you, just get past that, because it's really hard to convey to you how unbelievably fast and cheap software development has become in the last 12 months, where you can literally have something that would only ever work for your company, and you can have it like in days or weeks at a cost that would just blow your mind for how dramatically, what the X factor of price drop has been. So just pretend that you have so much money, you can have any kind of software you want and have it built just for you from the ground up, or that you don't have to, that it's so cheap that with your budget, you can do 10 or 50 times what you think. And then we'll like talk from there. Because if you don't, everyone's sort of like, okay, I'm stuck in enterprise, or I am going to buy something that was made for 50,000 companies and it has to be generic and so that it fits everybody, and I'll have to adapt to it, right? Or I'll have to customize something, which means that's off the shelf, which I need to hire the equivalent from 5 years ago. I need to hire a HubSpot expert because HubSpot doesn't make anything. I don't have a CRM just for me, right? And I said, like, if you just like either think that you have so much money that you could have something built just for you and only ever for you, or the cost of it has dropped so far that you wouldn't even care about the fact that you have to pay someone to make it just for you because it's a rounding error. Like once you get past that block, which has been a block for the last 75 years of all software development, once you get past that block, it opens up quite a lot.
The other thing to think about here is that you build an asset, you buy a liability. So when you go and sign up for, HubSpot, that's a
Right.
liability on your balance sheet. That's two
Hmm.
grand, 4 grand, 5 grand a month that you have to give to them out of your revenue. That really you just get the privilege of using their platform and have to make it work for you. But if
Hmm.
you go and build a proprietary system that, even if it only works for your business or your business and satellite offices or whatnot, when you go to sell that business, that's in your asset column. That's something you've invested in, that you've maintained, that now, because the business runs the way it needs to run with this piece of software, you're able to get a higher valuation at the end of the day. So I always look at it as like, yes, software prices have come down significantly. And the ability to build things that are so custom to a business has never been more affordable and made more sense, because in years past it wouldn't make sense to invest $1.5 million building out a tool that's only going to save 50 hours a week in a business. But that $1.5 million tool today will cost you 20 grand, and I guarantee you can make those numbers work. And so it's such a different world we live in, that, there is absolutely use cases where you should buy something. Like, see, you mentioned CRMs. I always tell people when they come in and they're like, I want to build a CRM from scratch. I'm like, don't do that. Like at the bare minimum, use like an open source framework where people have already connected most of the stuff. You don't want to build something that big from scratch. But you know what? An email, a desktop email client management platform, totally doable. You want to build
Yep. Something that rewrites proposals for you, generates them, no problem.
not
Your own absolutely customized quotation system just for your company because of how you get stuff and need stuff, absolutely buildable and cheaper, far cheaper than what you used to pay someone overseas to do it. You can now pay someone in the same time zone you're in the same country you're in, for less money, and the turnaround is 10x shorter than you would have expected. It's
I mean,
nuts.
we'd build custom applications for people and deliver them on the discovery call. So, like, we have an MVP ready before they even sign to give us $1, because the reality is if you can give me the idea of what you want, I can put something together to show you what it's gonna look like. And
Yep.
that's honestly half the battle, is making sure that when you go and invest in something, that the people you're paying actually deliver. And when you're dropping, $1 million on something, and it's going to take 6 months to see the first progress, that makes people really nervous. But that is just not the paradigm we're living
Yeah.
Okay,
And I
so
think,
guys, yeah, go ahead, Yusuf, and then I have one more question to sort of cycle us out.
yeah, I wanted to mention even from the other side of that story. So you guys have been talking about the cost side. How about the ROI side of the story, right? When we're sitting down in day to day, the all of the technology that was available 10 years ago that was only exclusively for enterprise level companies. Only the Microsofts of the world, the IBMs of the world actually had access to the technology that the mid and small sized businesses have access now. One of the missions that we have in my company is bringing enterprise level technology to small and medium sized businesses, and imagine that impact that it had on that enterprise level company. As Dean mentioned, $1 million for a piece of software that right now can be bought for $20,000. Imagine that impact that it had on that enterprise level company. Imagine the impact it's going to have on you. So even from a conversation that we would have with a client, I can kind of guarantee an instant ROI. Like you'll be getting your money in 1 month. It doesn't make sense. Any business person will be able to look at what we're bringing in there. So, like, if you're spending 7 hours on a quote because your floor people and the marketing people and the sales people are not talking to each other efficiently, and you're paying someone, a quote manager, to orchestrate all of that and paying him 100 grand a year, we can basically bring in a software that will orchestrate all of that. You'll be paying half of that. And I love, by the way, Drew, we use the same terminology. It's an asset. It's not a liability anymore. It's not an expense. It gets directly inputted into the valuation of the business. A lot of business owners have the mentality and the mindset like I'm building my business to sell down the line. That goes directly in your business. That tribal knowledge, all of that goes directly into that software. And it's more now you don't need $100,000 per year estimator. You can get a junior level and they'll do the same thing, right? So that conversation of after we've designed that software, obviously the costs are low at the moment, but the huge impact that it's had on the business within one conversation, I can tell you the ROI you're going to get it. And on average, it's around 3 months. You're getting your money at least, not even faster.
Okay. Okay, Youssef. So this has been great, by the way. Thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it and answering my like stripped down questions. Youssef, 2 parts. First, tell folks who you are and the best way to get to you and what your company does, and then follow that up with any CEO who watched this podcast today, what's the first thing they should think about when they stop watching?
So we are Revy. We help businesses automate inefficient business processes through custom software and AI automations when off-shelf solutions really don't work for the business. It's as simple as that. People can reach me on my LinkedIn, Youssef Tawfiq, or my email, Youssef@revy.agency, or our website, revy.agency. What
And
should
what should
people
they
think
think about
about?
as soon as they stop watching?
The minute to stop watching is do our audit. Really is trying to answer the question is, what's the first thing I can do with AI? I want to start using AI, but I really don't know where to start. Look at your business. Look at where you're spending so much money, so much time using Excel sheets, and people have to write on a piece of paper, things on a piece of paper. Those are the 4 main things. That's like, oh, there's something here. There might be something. We obviously have our audit and we'll obviously we'll share the link with you. The audit really answers the question. I want to know where to start with AI. So yeah.
And Drew, tell folks a little bit about you and how to get in touch with you and what you guys do, and what should they think about once they stop watching this video.
Sure. So I'm the founder of Automated Intel. We specialize in custom software development as well as that's specific around AI orchestration platforms. And we also do systems integrations work. So the systems integration often will be part cleanup, part implementing new systems. And then a lot of times those systems we're implementing are the ones we design. So that's where we live. We start most of our clients on a consulting arrangement because a lot of them don't know really what's possible or don't know what items to tackle first. And so, what I would suggest is that if you shoot me an email at drew@automataintel.com and just list out all of the complaints you have about the way your business operates, all the stuff that's been stuffed in the comment box, the angry Slack messages, the frustrations that come up at the stand up meetings, all of those, throw them into an email to me and I can help you see which ones of those we can help you address and fix. I can't make the IRS charge you less in taxes, but I can probably automate a lot of systems for you and bring in some new workflows that would make your business run a little bit better and a little bit more efficiently.
Make paying taxes sting less. All right, guys, this has been fantastic. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. And thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.